All right, we should be live. Phil, are you there?
Yes.
All right. I'm waiting for the audio to kick in because it takes a second sometimes. And let me get my logo on here. I wish it saved this, but for some reason it won't save any of this stuff. Have you noticed that?
Uh,
No? Not noticing it, huh?
uh-uh.
All right. There, we'll call it. We'll activate it, and boom! There it is. And is this... All right, audio is on. We're all good. Chat room is back up. And this is episode or issue 5. You ready, Phil?
Yes.
Welcome to the Mighty Nuff Said Reading Club, issue 5. Today we are talking Venom Space Knight, issues 1 through 5. A lot of issue 5s going on here. I am Rob Southgate. My co-host is...
Phil Parrish.
Hey, Phil, I'm going to fill you in this time. And let's see. Social media right up front. Where can they follow you?
On Twitter at Nightwing PDP. Should be down on the bottom of the screen.
It's not. It's not. I don't see it.
Oh.
Turn it on, Phil.
How did I not do that?
Well, I'll give mine. You can follow me at R Southgate or at Nuff Said Podcast, which is right here, right now. You can also find us on Pinterest and Facebook, and we have a website, southgatemediagroup.com/Nuff Said Podcast. All those different places. Get in communication with us on these. We have a chat room open right now. Now, we are recording at not our normal time. Going forward, we're going to try to either have a consistent schedule, that would be great, or we'll make sure that we tweet out when we're going live so you can jump in and chat with us. We'll also let you know what books we're reading up front ahead of time so you can maybe join in the conversation for that. But that didn't happen today. So if anyone joins in, awesome. If not, okay. Didn't happen for this episode. So, Phil, did you get your thing worked out?
What? Yes.
Yes, you did.
Yes. Yeah, I am at Nightwing PDP. Like we were saying before, if you want to recommend any books to us, you can always email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter. When we decide when we're going to broadcast, maybe I'll put up a message saying we're going to when we're going to talk and what we're going to talk about. So,
all right. So,
if people want to follow along.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it. Venom Space Knight, issues 1 through 5. This is a newer book.
I think it was like last year.
Yeah, well, they're in the series. I think they're already up to 13, but on Marvel U they only have 1 through 5. So that's what we did. Have you read this before?
No, like I told you, last night was my very first time reading this series.
Cool. And what did you think?
I thought it was interesting because I've read the character before because he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I've been reading Guardians of the Galaxy every month now, so it was kind of interesting to get like an in-depth, just focused on Agent Venom.
Yeah. I'm agreeing. I actually I hadn't even read the stuff where he's with the Guardians, but I knew he was working with the Guardians. I read some of those Marvel Now that were specific to Venom, where it's where he first really is exploring being a hero. He when he has the suit, he can walk, stuff like that. And I really kind of thought it was an interesting take. It was not the Venom I was expecting to read. Yeah. And the other night I was perusing Marvel U. I'm always looking for different titles, like not just for this, but I usually read a couple of different, like last night I was reading Squirrel Girl. I had never read Squirrel Girl, and I read the first 3 issues and loved it. Absolutely loved it. I've encountered her in other books. I knew who she was, but now that I've read it, I'm like, oh man, Molly's got to read this great book. That's how this was. I saw Venom Space Knight, and I thought, I'll give it a try. I like that other Venom book. Let's see how it is. What did you think of it?
It was interesting because I try to like, how do I want to say,
Well,
reconcile it.
here, you throw it out there first of all. Did you like it? Was it just okay? Are you going to recommend it? Let's get that right on the table.
I do like it. I would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Venom or Flash Thompson in general. No, it was a good story. I was just trying to wrap my head around. Wow, I mean, Flash Thompson's been around since like almost the beginning of Marvel, but I'm like, okay, this is the guy who picked on Peter Parker for years, and now he's like this
No, he's a hero.
intergalactic space hero. Yeah,
Yeah. You know what? That's where it gets a little janky. But there's something. When I started the first issue, I was kind of having that feeling.
mm-hmm.
As it went on, I was able to kind of forgive all of that. He's kind of like what they've done with the character is they've made him a nice counterpart to like Star-Lord.
Yeah.
So I think having him running around on Earth with Spider-Man and these various forms of Spider-Man, I think was going to cause a problem for them because Venom is such a popular character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what can we really do with this? It's this great iconic character, but he just slobbers a lot and kills things. And by having it be this symbiote, having them cleanse the symbiote, having them put him in space, I think it lends to a really kind of cool sci-fi adventure story. I'm actually kind of digging it. Is it in my top 10 stories of all time? No. Do I think it's worth reading? I definitely do. I'm actually liking it quite a bit.
I think it's like the everyman story. It's like, well, people are familiar with Flash Thompson, so it's like, well, Flash Thompson, it's kind of like people can relate maybe to Flash Thompson because he was just an ordinary guy until he came across the symbiote.
Right. Well, and I did like that. I think it was in issue, I want to say either 4 or 5, where it had the throwback where he kind of had that moment where he was like, what is this life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was picking on Peter Parker and, I was kind of a jerk. Actually he goes, I was like a jerk. Actually, I was a huge jerk back then.
Mm-hmm.
And his motivation, I thought was interesting because it came up more than once in here. The reason he embraced all this, he had lost his legs. They didn't go into any of that story, but in the Venom book that I had read, they'd gone into that story. He lost his legs. He was such a big Spider-Man fan, but he was this kind of jerky guy. And like, he's had this whole like massive story arc that's gone on.
Oh, yeah.
And ultimately what his life boiled down to is he wants to help people, and having Venom on gives him that ability to help people. So that's why he's like, I'm just doing everything I can. And now he gets made a Space Knight and he doesn't even understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that too. Like, he kind of found out there were other Space Knights, and same kind of thing. They had the symbiotes attached to him, and they didn't treat him like he was, this awesome character. They treated him more like, yeah, you're this little Earthling in kind of a wimpy suit compared to us.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed that. It kind of had a Spider-Man in space flavor, but it didn't feel like a rehash to me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I was just thinking it's kind of like because he is in Guardians of the Galaxy now, but it has kind of like that Guardians of the Galaxy, specifically Star-Lord story, but it is its own thing also.
Yeah, it's different, and and I like. I'm a science fiction fan, so I always gravitate towards those kind of stories. Like, I was reading Guardians recently, and I found myself really dropping into it and going, man, I really probably want to read more of this because I like what happens here. Mm-hmm. And it kind of has that Star Trek vibe, kind of has that Star Wars vibe, like the space stories I always kind of get into. This stands with them. This was drawing me in. Is it weird that it's Venom? Yeah, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird that it's Flash Thompson. You kind of have to separate the old story from this new, but I think they're doing a really interesting job. We should talk about it here. The writer is Robbie Thompson. Cover artist and artist throughout is Ariel Olivetti. What did you think of the artwork?
I really liked it. It was really good. I like the use of like the colors and stuff because I mean you are in all these like alien environments, and I think the art really popped when it came to that.
Well, and it's a different type of artwork. It looks like
Yeah.
more like painted. You know,
Hmm.
like the inside of the book looks a lot like the painted covers that you see on these books.
Yeah.
Whereas usually you've got this, elaborate painted cover, and then inside it's, line art. This it feels like it's painted more, not Alex Ross paintings.
No.
But it's funny. The first issue, I wasn't connecting with the artwork.
Hmm.
I didn't dislike it. I just it wasn't. I thought, man, I don't know about this series. I don't know if I'm going to like be down with this artwork for very long. By the fifth issue, I was actually really digging what was happening, what Olivetti was doing, and I'll tell you why. I think it's what you said exactly.
Hmm.
I think it's the alien environments in that. I think
Oh yeah.
like once we start seeing some of these aliens, like the I can't think of his name, but the big panda bear, the sad panda that attacks him, I was like, it fits that artwork so well.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think yeah, it's the whole alien environment thing, and plus I think they wanted something different to set him, to
To
set a set
differentiate it. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, to
absolutely.
differentiate between him and even like other previous versions of Venom also.
Well, and yeah, I think you're right. And this is one of the points I make, because of Nuff said, very often people want to talk to me about, Marvel versus DC or get into these conversations. And, the buzz is always, DC kills it in the comics, Marvel is dipping in the comics, Marvel kills it in the movies, DC is dipping in the movies. Like there's always this talk. And I actually contend it's a little different. I think that Marvel in its comics, although like, and I don't think DC is necessarily that strong all the time in its comics either. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Marvel, I think it can't. Their big events tend to fall flat because they usually fall flat in the last couple of issues for some reason.
Hmm.
Maybe all the writers from Saturday Night Live write for these, so take that, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Can't write an ending. Uh, but one thing that I think makes them really strong is what we're talking about now. With DC Comics, I tend to think they all have a similar look. You
Hmm.
know, there's a style to the DC books. Yes, there are some artists that break through that. Usually, it's more their special event type things that do it. Whereas Marvel, they seem to let the artist behind the story define it. A Scotty Young writing a book, you get a whole series of Scotty Young books. They're going to look like Scotty Young books. This Olivetti, this is a very distinct style for Olivetti, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are other artists, just like with anybody, there are other artists that do something somewhat similar, but all of Olivetti's books look like this. And to me, that is where the strength really is. Think about the Hawkeye books. They have a really
Mm.
distinct style to them. I love it, Whereas if it was a DC book, Hawkeye would look like Iron Man, would look like Hulk, would look like
Hmm.
Captain America, because they want that consistency. Marvel seems to be saying, let's embrace the artist. It wasn't always like that. Yes, there were
Hmm.
great artists, but do you think that, they could all express themselves in such a dramatically different way? I don't think so. I think they wanted it to look like comic books. This is breaking through that some. At least I think so.
Yeah, now that you say that, you're totally right. I mean, I think Marvel more so than DC, they tell their artists, well, I don't know if they tell them or if they just give them free reign to say, think outside the box.
Yeah.
I don't want this to look like, so and so's Iron Man book or so and so's Avengers book.
Yeah, I want it to look like your book. And
Yeah.
see, and I'm not slamming DC. I actually
Hmm.
like DC too. I you know me, I'm on board with just about everything. But
Yeah.
this feels more like how Dark Horse has all these different titles, and every title has a very distinct and completely different look. Artists get to do crazy things with the
Hmm.
characters. Marvel seems to have embraced that in the last few years. And I think this book exemplifies that. Not that it's the greatest. Like I said, I wasn't drawn into it, but by issue 5, I actually was getting drawn into it, and it is a look that when I look at the covers, I immediately want to see what's on the inside because I know exactly what it looks like.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know?
I remember seeing this book on the stand at the store like last year, and I almost picked it up. And yeah, that's what caught my eye at first was those covers.
Yeah. The covers are really great. If you
Mhm.
go to marvel.com and type in Venom Space Knight, you can see the various covers, and they are pretty striking. I mean, it's a great character to draw, you
Mhm.
know? I think it's interesting that by the 5th issue, he's already not on the cover. It's a Venom book, and he's not there. The Sad Panda's there with the
Mhm.
main villain. And it's like, that's pretty crazy for a Venom book to already do that.
Mhm.
Now, by issue 12, they have him in the Spider Venom with Venom attacking. It's like, this is like the cover you've been waiting for. It's really
Mhm.
great. So, yeah, I really like the work that's being done here. Is it my favorite book? No. Will I read it? Yes, I'm going to read it every month now. What I'm really waiting for is a defined story, like the story that breaks this through. And it may be in here. We're only 5 issues in,
Mhm.
but I like to see a real solid, story like when we did Born Again. There's
Oh
a
yeah.
6-issue run that is confined and it's defining. I think this needs that. And I think if it had that, if Frank Miller wrote a Venom Space Knight, and not to take anything away from Thompson, if Thompson wrote a definitive, these are the 5 issues, these are the 6 issues that set this world,
Mhm.
I think that we a year from now might be having a very different conversation about Venom Space Knight.
Yeah, I mean, just the issue lengths and stuff. I always have this conversation with Charlie and Lilith. I think they write for these days more so. They write for the graphic novel. They know that this
Yes.
is going into a graphic novel. Back in the '80s, Frank Miller didn't know this was going anywhere except the monthly issues.
Yeah, no, they didn't really exist at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean now they do write it with that in mind. Uh or just as a collected work. I think this
Mhm.
needs that though. I think this character now that we've read a little bit about him, we understand his world, and I like the sci-fi part of it quite a bit. I think that's
Oh
really
yeah.
cool. I think they need that definitive story so that when he's in Guardians, this character is a whole character.
Mhm.
Then it's like a big guest starring thing as opposed to, oh, we wanted to get Venom off planet, so we put him with the Guardians. You know,
Mhm.
so I think this is a step in the right direction. I dug it. I think it's a cool book.
Oh yeah. I
So
no.
go ahead.
No, I just love the awesome thing. I didn't have high hopes for like a Venom in space book, but I mean, I enjoyed it like I enjoy. Well, I'm a DC fan also, like a Green Lantern book. I thought it was just as good as a Green Lantern book.
I agree with you. Now, Green Lantern, there have been some definitive
Hmm.
stories that the casual fan is like, oh yeah, these are great. And then you read this and you're like, oh wow, this is really fantastic. This needs that. But it's so early in the run. We're only 5 issues in. I hope that it lasts long enough that happens. I think there's
Hmm.
enough happening here that we can have that. And I also think there's enough happening here that it doesn't mean Venom has gone off of Earth. This symbiote has been cleansed and is doing this. Who's to say another symbiote isn't floating around on Earth and becomes that big, nasty, evil thing? You know,
Hmm.
doesn't have to kill that whole idea. So I like it. I like it a lot, and I like that they've brought Flash Thompson into this era, and they got him off planet. Why not? Why not? Let's make some
Yeah,
crazy stuff up and have some fun with it. You know?
yeah. It's like the whole evolution of the character because he had a previous series. What was it like? 2009, 2008, something like that. Yeah, and he was like working for like some government agency. So yeah, it's like the whole evolution of Flash Thompson. He went from high school bully,
Well, that was when
went
he
to
was
school.
working when he did Thunderbolts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Agent Venom. He was part of Thunderbolts, and that was a cool story. Agent Venom was a great character.
Oh yeah.
I like that, and I think this is another really strong entry. I think that going forward, maybe not right now, but going forward, there's going to be a point when they're going to do something with the Venom property that's going to make everybody kind of get on board. Kind of like we've seen this happen with other characters that were played with a lot in secondary roles. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, how cool is this? The history of this character is amazing. So crazy and wild. I think Venom stands a chance of being one of those like iconic characters that is nothing like we expect at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean that character is already. I mean, it's on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and yeah, I mean the whole Agent Venom, Flash Thompson. It's getting out there.
Now I wonder if this is partially because of the whole thing with the MCU versus Fox and versus Sony and everything. You know, now that they have Spider-Man, you know, we don't know what the sandbox looks like, but this is a different character. This is not even Eddie Brock. So I wonder if by throwing him in space, doing this, if they can have a Venom Space Knight show up in a Guardians movie, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, they did a couple of things in here when we saw him turn to Venom. I don't know if you caught that, but like, because he's got that different look here and he gets the big mouth and everything. But there was a couple of points when he got antagonized and it went like big jaw, big teeth. And I was like, oh, there he is. I wonder if this would be the way we could actually see that happen. Or if they want to hold those cards, let Venom be introduced in the Spider-Man world so it doesn't muddy it. I don't know. But I wonder if this book was so that they could claim the character in a different way.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, they can even do the reverse. They can introduce symbiotes in like a Guardians of the Galaxy or something, and then have one show up in like Spider-Man 2 or whatever.
That'd be pretty cool. Just don't do a Spider-Man 3 move with him.
No,
please. So is that it, Phil? Are we done?
I think so.
Cool. I have so much work to do. I'm going back to work. Now, you get to pick the next book. What are we going to do next?
I don't know if you want to do the whole series because it's 27 issues, but I was thinking we could even just do the first arc, Immortal Iron Fist from 2006.
Oh, yeah. I've never read that. Okay. All right. So what's the first arc? How many issues?
I don't even remember.
You know what? Doesn't matter. You can just tell me. We'll figure it out. I may do all 27 issues though, because why not? But
yeah, I just looked there. I just looked right now to make sure it was on Marvel U, and it is. So.
All right. I put down Immortal Iron Fist. What year is that?
I think it's 2006.
Okay. So anyone listening or watching, if you want to join along, go for the 2006 Immortal Iron Fist series. We're going to do at least the first arc. If I go past that, I will definitely tweet that out and say, yeah, we're going for it. Phil, I'll let you know. But let's count on the first arc. But things change.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you know how many the first arc is.
Cool. And then I'll start looking for my next crazy one, like Venom Space Knight, see what I can find for us.
Nice.
You never know. I might go completely traditional, you know? You never know. All right, Phil, thank you so much. This was awesome. I look forward to the next time we're on the mighty Nuff Said Reading Club. Until then, Nuff Said.
Nuff said.